Hello, hello, hello. It is your girl, Sean Ray with Boss Talk. Welcome back. It is Wednesday, y'all. And so, that is the day that we get together and have some good conversation. So, I hope that you all are out there enjoying the holiday season and really taking good care of yourselves throughout the holiday season. Sometimes during the holiday season, we put everything on the back burner. So, I invite you to this year, do not put yourself on the back burner. Keep yourself up close and personal, right up front, taking care of yourself in the way that you need to. If that means skipping some of the sugary treats like I'm having to do that so that come January, you will be ready to hit the ground running with getting your whole new sexy on for 2023. And so I also want to tell you all that I think I told you this. I keep mentioning it, that I have a new arm to my business, which is more about health and fitness, and I have a line of products that I'm working with that actually help you to take care of yourselves holistically. As you know, I'm a holistic licensed marriage family therapist, a transformational performance coach, and a transformational speaker. And in joining all of those things together, I realized that even for myself, I had to start paying more attention to my inside health, right? Because we're always grabbing something and putting on a lash and putting on a lipstick and, my accessories and all of those things that I do on the outside. But what about the inside? And so I have at 62, fantastic, fabulous years old, I have had to recommit myself to my inner health, because that helps you to be good on the outside, as well as mental health, your emotional health, your brain power, and the way that your brain works. And y'all know, 100% transparent, I got ADHD all day long. And so it is so important for me to take care of myself, even the thing that's hardest for me, which is going to bed and going to sleep. So all of those things are things that I'm going to be working on in 2023. And I hope you will join me on that journey. So keep watching and learning more and more about how that's going to show up in our lives. All right. So as you all know, this is a holiday season, and holiday season can be fantastic and wonderful. But in many cases, some of us out here are grieving during the holiday season. And so I'm excited to be able to bring this show to you today, because the person that I am bringing on tonight is near and dear to my heart. And she really knows a lot about the journey of complicated grief, and will help us with some tips and just have some good conversation around all of that. So, without another word from me, no, I do have something else to say. Y'all get out there and invite your people in, so we can have a good conversation. So share this link out. I'll give you a few minutes to, oops, that's the wrong way. I'll give you a few minutes to share it out. And so get it sent out to your folks so that they can be all up in here with us and we can have this fantastic conversation. So go ahead, share it. I don't know who that is. There's somebody out there. Share that link, whoever you are out there, and say hi to us. Don't be shy. Talk to us in the chat. We want to hear from you. So take a minute, share this with your friends, because you don't want them to miss it. And even share it to people who you know are not available tonight, because this link, all of the links are available all the time. They're forever links. So if someone misses the live action, they can come back another time and view the show. So now I'm trusting that you guys are on your way in here, and that whoever that is out there, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being on time. And you are going to go share that out as well. So again, without another word from me, I'm going to introduce my amazing guest. And her name is Farrell Robbins, the manifestation of a healer. That describes Farrell. Farrell has devoted over half of her life serving the Los Angeles community, an executive director of a community nonprofit organization, a chaplain, a real estate agent, a life coach, a photographer, which I forgot about that, and a victim's advocate. Farrell is many things to many people, but the one thing that she is to everyone is an inspiration. And I can say that firsthand. Farrell has dedicated over 28 years of her time and energy to assisting, advocating, and supporting victims and families in crisis. In her work as an executive director of Loves, a grief and trauma counseling center, and chaplain for the Los Angeles Police Department, Farrell has poured her mind, body, and spirit into helping individuals, families, and communities rebuild their lives after major devastations. An expert in crisis response, Farrell has been a member of various crisis response teams, LAPD Critical Incidents Response Team, and Red Cross SAIR, SAIR, she'll tell us what that is, teams are among the many task forces that she has been a part of. Farrell's expertise has been called upon to serve in numerous high-profile tragedies, including the September 11th terrorist strikes and the Alaska, Singapore, and Aztec, Colorado air disasters. Because of her immense work in the community, Farrell has been mentioned in several publications, like none other than the Los Angeles Times. So I'm going to bring Farrell on right now so that you can meet her up close and personal, and we can learn even more about this amazing woman. So, Boss Talk, please welcome Farrell Robbins. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Hello, Sean.
Welcome to Boss Talk, Farrell.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
I'm excited for this conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
We have the sister love. We have our same colors on.
Yes, absolutely. I would say I recall that happening a lot when we were in the office
Yes.
together.
Absolutely.
I want to button this top button because I think that there is another little rhinestone that we're not getting to see, y'all. Wait a minute. It's all about the sparkle. Y'all know that? It's all about the sparkle with me. Here we go. Wait. My nails are sparkling a little bit. I can't get it in there. There we go. Okay.
Love the glasses, Sean.
Thank you. They're my signature now, so I have to wear them, although I will take them off partway through because some people think they want to see my face. And so I will accommodate. But Farrell, I'm so excited for this conversation. So first of all, let's talk about how you and I know one another. Why are you laughing? So y'all, Farrell was my boss. So but not only my boss, I 100%, I mean this so tremendously from my heart. Farrell is the person who gave me the opportunity to see the first clients I ever saw as a therapist, y'all. I was I was still in school because during practicum, you have to do a certain amount of hours depending on what your school allows or requires. And you have to do those hours in order to graduate. And it's called practicum. And so I actually did my hours at Loved Ones Victim Services. And I said this a few times on here, but I'll say it again. So I had said, okay, God, we're going to pick this together and I will go wherever they call me. So whoever calls me to come in for an interview, I will go. So I got the call to come into Loved Ones, and I was excited, kinda, but I wasn't really sure. I wasn't like, ooh, I don't know. And so I get over there. I get off of the freeway, and it is backed up all the way to the 40591. Y'all ever been over there on Slauson? And it took me 15 minutes to get down 2.5 blocks or so, right? It took me 15 minutes. I get in there about 10 minutes late. I'm all disheveled and, hi, I'm Charlotte Ray. I don't know what she thought when she saw me, but she's like, girl, go on in there. They in there. So we go in the other room. And then I was also surprised because there were like 6 or 7 people in the interview. And then came Dr. Mars, Dr. Raymond Mars. Shout out to him because he was our clinical supervisor. And he was the one that came in and tell us all about, what we'd be doing and all of that. And when he finished, I was like, I want this one. I wanted this one. And God must have known what I needed, because he, surprisingly enough, I got the phone call to come back that I had been selected out of the 6. I think we selected 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the funny thing is I also, that same day that you called, I was supposed to be getting ready to go to an interview all the way out in Pomona.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And when you called, I said yes. And then I called them and said no. So that's how we met.
Yes.
So tell us about the work that, that goes on at Loved Ones, because it's amazing. And I want them to hear it from you.
Yeah. Loved Ones is a grief center. We started out as a grief center just for homicide survivors, for their families. And over the years, we've taken on drunk driving families that have lost someone to drunk driving. We've taken on families that have lost someone to suicide. And so we're just kind of entering the whole grief arena, because what we have found is their services are very limited. And not only that, when you're doing grief work, you have to really understand it's not a quick fix. And so you have to really have that heart that I'm in this, with the client, as long as I need to be. And there's no particular timeline. Everyone is different. So we've been doing it for over 30 years now. And I can say that the people that come through the center, such as Sean and others that have come through, actually have a heart. And so when we're interviewing, we're looking for people that have a heart for the work, not just coming in to get your hours, but you actually have a heart for the work and giving back to your community. That's very important to me.
Yes, absolutely. And I tell you, and you guys do a really great job in selecting, because not just because you chose me, but but the team that we actually got to work with, that I got to work with while I was there, it was amazing. And we were all most of us were so brand new.
Yes.
Like everybody was in practicum. I think there were I think all of us at that time were in practicum, right? And so
yes.
None of us knew anything about what it really meant to sit in front of people, and then to have the gift and the challenge of sitting in front of people who are at their most vulnerable in having lost a loved one to murder.
Yes.
The drunk drivers. And I ended up having both. I think my first client was murder. I even had a young woman who had been assaulted on the street, her first apartment, just kind of everything. So it was like baptism by fire, like, whoa, here I go. I'm doing therapy now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is that we do a lot of training. So we're not just throwing anyone in there. We're actually consistently doing training. Dr. Mars, myself, we make sure that everyone's comfortable, when they walk in that room. But we also pride ourselves on being able to debrief with our therapists, to make sure that they're okay, because the work that we do is very intense, and it's not something that everyone can do. And so it's important to take care of our clients, but it's also important that we take care of the people that work for us.
Absolutely. And I can attest to that as well. I remember a situation we had once where I ended up leaving my home in the middle of the night, 12:30 p.m. to go to a situation where one of our clients had lost, it's not behaving. Go over there. One of our clients had lost another family member to murder. And I had just been working with her for a while and gotten her to the place where she was able to make some changes and do some things. She had moved and had not been able to do so because she was clinging to that house where the other person that she lost lived. And then to get hit again in the same way, Pharaoh, my heart broke. And I remember saying, she wants me to come. Can I go? And you were like, absolutely go.
Yeah, that was one of those midnight in the morning calls.
Yes.
And the thing about it is making sure you have the right people, because the one thing about it, you had a willing heart to say, hey, I have no problem going. Let me get up, let me go. And you walk that family all the way through the process, not just as a therapist, but a person with a heart for what she was going through. Just as you said, this woman was beginning to laugh, and everything was going fine, and then all of a sudden, bam, she's knocked down again. And I think we've probably had that experience over the 30 years, maybe 2 or 3 times.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember. And it's almost, because they always say, of course, you've heard it 1,000 times, lightning never strikes twice.
Correct.
Until it does. Right?
Absolutely. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But I was grateful for, I was with them all night into the wee hours of the morning, and I had a date with a friend of mine. The next day we were going down to the jewelry show downtown. And I remember you're saying to me, what are your plans for the day? Because I remember you called me after, and you like,
yeah,
call me when you stop, because I was driving. You said, call me when you stop. And I parked, and I called you, and you said, we have to debrief. And I was like, yeah. And I remember you saying that you were so happy that I had something that I loved to do that day. And I got to tell you, that made all the difference in the world, because if I had gone home and had to sit with what I had just experienced and witnessed and held space for, it might have been a whole different impact on me. But I got to go in there and look at pretty sparkly baubles and things that I love, and buy them and buy them and buy some more. And with a friend who is very good, dear friend, Miss Tiffany, shout out to you. Tiffany Scott Clemente of the Genuine Article. Hey. But she and I just went and we bought so many good things to play with. And that really just helped me to be in a different space when it came time to sit down and actually process what had happened.
Yeah, it makes a difference. I'm always, as you know, concerned about my people. And on Saturdays when we would do group, the last thing I would say, everybody going out the door. So what are you doing for yourself?
Yeah.
Are you going to lunch? Are you going to the spa? What is it that you're doing for yourself? Because we all are in the trenches in this work. And I don't care what your profession is, you have to be able to balance, because you're taking on other people's feelings, and with grief, it's very heavy. And so you have to be able to say, hey, okay, I need some self-time. I'm going to have to take care of myself. That's really, really important. And that's one of the things that I push very hard on, because I have to push you guys, because you're trying to work with the clients. And so I have to be back there to make sure that I'm seeing how you're doing.
Right.
And if I see that you're overwhelmed, then I'm going to call you in, and I call you on it. You know?
Yeah.
And so that's really important to me. And I think that's the difference with the center, is that we don't only care about the clients we serve, but I also care about the people that work for me.
Absolutely. So how did you get into this work? Because I know that Loved Ones was one part of this kind of work that you do, but you have been involved in some other things. So tell us about that.
So I was actually volunteering for the police department, and that was before I actually became a chaplain. I was volunteering for the police department, I think 3 years prior to me actually becoming a chaplain, and that was just a fluke. I was just volunteering, and one day I went into my captain and I said, hey, there's someone that wants to be a chaplain, and so here's his information. And my captain looked at me and he said, no. He said, if I'm going to make anyone a chaplain, it's you. So here, you sign the paperwork. And so, now I got to get ordained, and I got to do all this, get chaplain.
Oh, you weren't ordained yet?
I was just, no. Oh my goodness. I had been in church, I've been in church all my life.
Of course, yeah.
But so I had to do all of that and then go through the whole process and stuff. But I had been volunteering with the police department, going out on calls. So when they would get a homicide, we were part of a crisis team, and the crisis team ended up being me. because every time, they would call someone, it was, I'm at dinner, I'm with the family, I'm this, I'm that. And so I end up being the person that went out on those calls. And that's where I became acquainted with some people that were at loved ones. We retired loved ones of homicide. That's what it used to be called. And then I took it over and I renamed it Loved Ones Services. And so, so that's how that, that came up. And
I didn't know that. I never
Yeah.
knew that it had been Loved Ones of Homicide. Oh, I love that. Yeah, your choice is so much better.
Yeah, so changed that. Prior to that, I used to do calls for the Rosa Parks Rape Center. And so I would do hospital accompaniment. And so when we had a rape victim, I would go out to the hospital with them. And so I've been doing this for a long time. And there's a backstory to that. And it's just, some things that I went through. And I always said I wanted to pay it forward. When I got older. And so that's what I'm doing, so this isn't just it's not a job for me. It's my purpose. It's why I'm here. God has granted me the opportunity to be able to do it and to be able to still live and make a living at the same time. And so I'm grateful. I don't love grief, but I love the people that I come in contact with. And just seeing people be able to put their lives back together. That's the joy of it for me. Yeah.
And it's so true that, because I know that when I told my family that this was the place I chose, they were like, who are you? Because that does not sound like you. And, because I'm a happy girl, I'm always giggly and very upbeat. And I think sometimes it does give people the wrong impression of me because they think I am flighty, but they think that I am flighty and shallow. I don't know. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. But
you're a good therapist.
There was a whole nother thing. And I think like you, I felt this calling from the time I was a little kid. I used to always take care of people, and never knew, of course, that there was even such a thing as a therapist. And then let alone when I found out there was such a thing as a marriage family therapist. And I just never expected that I would be doing this work. And then so when they overcame that surprise, then the next surprise that I was going to actually be holding space for people in such a heavy manner. But I think that the inner joy that I have is part of what allows me to be able to do that. Absolutely. And so now I get that, from a whole different level.
Because everyone can't do it. And, I get that asked all the time. It's like, you've been doing this for how many years? But this is my calling, in ministry. This is it. And so for me, when a client comes in the door, I don't see the client like everyone else see them when they come through that door. I'm looking at what I'm going to see months down the line or a year down the line, when that client is going to come in smiling one day and saying, hey, I went back to school, or I bought a house, or, I'm getting married, or I'm having a baby. That's the day that I look for. So as long as I can look for that day and not focus on, oh my God, this is just overwhelming, and basically snowball with them, then I'm okay.
Yes.
And so that's what's important. Some are there a short time, and there are some others that are there a longer time. And it's okay either way.
Yeah. Well, what I love too is that, it's called Loved Ones Victim Services, but it's about families, and we take care of the families, but then they become a family. Like all of our little families have become a big old family. And I really love that. I remember when I came to group for the first time, and I saw, people who had been around for 15 years, and, people who had, and in that group, I actually got a chance to see a couple of those people that you're saying who had the double grieving, double situations. I remember there was a man who I think lost his son and then lost another son or something shortly, not that much longer after. And I remember these three women who were amazing. I think they were sisters, and and they were just so awesome. And what I also loved was the process of watching those people begin to help one another. I
Yes.
love that dynamic of that group because they become not their own therapists, but their own support, their own advocates,
Yes.
and advocates for one another. And I think that is so beautiful. It's an amazing opportunity to be
Yes.
able to sit with people in that way.
Yeah, that's the difference in the center, I guess the work there at the center, because they do become a family. It's not a family they wanted to be a part of,
Right.
but they definitely do become a family and they support one another.
Mhm.
We used to have an older gentleman, and you'll probably remember this. He used to go, when he would go to the cemetery to visit his son's grave, all the clients in the center that he knew where their loved ones were, he would go and clean everybody's grave.
I remember
He
him.
was there, and that was special,
Yeah.
and a lot of them really appreciated that because some of them had moved out of town and they weren't here anymore.
Mm.
And he would still go out there and do that, and he did that till he wasn't able to do that anymore.
Yeah,
That's a special person, a special heart.
yes, absolutely. I love that. And I feel like sometimes too, when we face our greatest tragedies, sometimes that shifts the way that we see the world, and not always in a bad way, because I think a lot of times people think that it shifts the way that you see the world in a negative way, that you now see the world like if you lost someone to murder or a drunk driver killed your child, then you could see the world in a way that it's all bad and people aren't good and all of that. But I think being in that grieving spot, when you have a place to go where you can lay it down and have somebody be the container for you, I think that makes all the difference in the world in how you process it and how you walk out of that thing. And that's why I can't express enough for people to actually know about this, and I'm so excited to do the show tonight to help have people know that such a thing actually exists.
Yeah, it's important. I have walked through it, as you know.
Mhm.
And so, I was already doing the work 10 years prior to me actually losing my own brother to murder. And so what losing him gave me was a different picture. I
Mhm.
thought I understood. And, I was there, I was caring, but I had no idea
Mhm.
what the battle was just to get up and just to be able to pick your life up and kind of go on. And actually, I wanted to quit. I was like, you know what? We can shut this down. I don't want to do this anymore.
Wow.
And and I prayed about it, and it was like, you know what? This now you can do great work because you have experienced this. So every little stage
Yes.
about. So when you come in and you tell me that you felt like, hey, I don't want to be here anymore. This hurts too bad. I can relate to you. I know exactly how that feels. Your feelings can be different because relationships are different. But I know overall kind of what you're walking through. And I can pretty much, I can tell you where you are. I can sit in a group and I can read a room real good, but it's because I've been doing it so long.
Yeah. I remember this one particular client who kind of was sort of let's see, busying her way through it, and so I can so relate to that. I'm busy anyway. So I found myself in that space with grieving situations, and even I feel like I've done this grieving situation a lot differently, although a lot of people don't see it. I know, because I know the way that I move.
Absolutely.
More than anybody. And so I know that I've had to slow myself down, and I do take those moments after the loss of my husband. But a lot of people still think that I am just running, but I'm not. It's just that I do a lot. So my downtime is like somebody
Mhm.
else's top of their line
Mhm.
time. You know what I mean? But I remember
Mhm.
this client was just jamming along, just doing so much and doing so much. And you pointed it out to me. You
Mhm.
said she's trying to busy her way through this.
Mhm.
You gotta call it.
Mhm.
And so I did, and ooh, she fought me like this. No, I'm not. I'm just da da da. And I was like, and you taught me this. You're like, okay, okay,
Mhm.
all
Mhm.
right, because they will come to it. They will come to it,
Absolutely.
and you
Absolutely.
get tired when you're running. You get tired.
Absolutely. At some point, you're gonna hit the wall.
Yes, and you cannot run faster than this grief
Yep.
and this journey.
Yeah. At some
Yes.
point, the thing is, I don't care what your profession is. Um, it's important that when something like that happens, you have to take time for yourself
Mhm.
because, especially if you're helping people, because at some point, it is going to catch up with you. You know.
100%, 100%. Hey, Soror. That's Terry Mann. Thank you for tuning
I
in again, my
see.
dear. She says that is so true. When you experience the pain, you can share the journey they're going through. Absolutely.
Abs- Absolutely. Thank you, Terry. Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. You know, I think when you pointed out, it's like you said, nobody, you just don't get it till the minute you get it. Right. And so I can tell you all day long, this is, what I see. But until you see it, feel it, can accept it, and get there, then you're like, oh,
Yeah, I mean, you have to, that is a pain that unless you experience it, you'll never really understand it. And
mhm,
you can tell people to move on. You can tell people to pray about it. And yes, it does help, but they got to go through it.
yes,
And when they're going through it, that pain there is one that I can't even describe it. It's horrible, you
yeah,
know. It hits to the core. I mean, it hits you to the core.
yes,
And I don't think that I don't know if I'll ever have a loss that's that impactful. But let me say this. When the clients that we see, it's not just grief. So what happens is you
right,
got trauma and you have grief. So whatever happened, they're focused on how it happened, why it happened. And that's about a year. We're dealing
oh
with it
yeah,
for about a year just with that before you can even really get to the grieving process. And
yes,
so that's why I say when people are coming in and they're training with us, you have to be able to be patient because there are several things happen. And I think you had a client that you were working with, and we get the client to a certain point, and then all of a sudden the district attorney sent papers and said, okay, now we have the perpetrator, and now we're going to court.
yes. I do remember that.
Backtrack. So now we have to start all over again because we have to prep them for that. Now they got to relive that.
Yeah,
And even though they have some management skills, we've taught them how to kind of manage their feelings. They still are going to have flashbacks and go back. And so we have to work with them at that point. So
yeah,
that's why, it's not a quick fix.
yeah,
You have to be able to be in this for the long run.
yeah. And that's one of the things too that sort of drew me to it. One of the things that drew me to it is when Dr. Mars said we'd be able to go on the scene of the crime with first responders, and of course my school, wouldn't let that happen.
Mhm,
But when I graduated, since I stuck around, I got
mhm,
to have that experience. But
mhm.
just when people, we never think about all the layers
Yeah.
of the grieving process. Period. And then what this is, and I mentioned this in the show notes, it's complicated grief
Mhm.
because it's not just that you have to, like you said, you have to realize that this happened, like this actually happened. And then this happened in this way.
Mhm.
And this is not how anybody should have to go, right? It's
Absolutely.
nobody, it
Absolutely.
shouldn't be somebody else's decision,
Absolutely.
right? And then not only that, now I might get to a place where, hey, I can stand up a little straight, and then, oh, you have to go to court now.
Mhm.
What? You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So there's just, it's like the never ending story in many ways if
Yeah,
we're not careful about how to manage it.
Yeah, it keeps going because you have, after the crime, if they catch someone, you have about 2 years before it even start going through the court process. And so you're going to have canceled dates, where they're going to cancel the date of your trial and so forth. Okay, so after that, then you're going to have to wait and you have sentencing. And then after that, some years down the line, you may have that person go before the parole board. Then you got to deal with that, Then that person, a few years from that person may get out, or maybe one person stays in and one person is getting out. And so then that's a whole nother level.
Yeah, I had that too, if you recall.
Yeah.
Walking with somebody who the person was now being released and they had to go and say why they thought no. And we see that on television.
Yeah.
When you see that or you see it in the news, but to actually be there when someone is actually going through that, woo, it's a whole thing.
It's a whole different thing. I mean, there are all kind of emotions come up. I've had that experience as well. And so just all of a sudden I'm going, this person, wait a minute, this person is out.
Yeah.
And you look at it and then it's like, wow, okay. But that your loved one is still gone. So, it's really, really something to see.
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, Sororanda, she said, good evening, ladies. So very true. It is important to surround yourself with people who love and support you. Grief is an ongoing process that looks different for everyone. Absolutely. Absolutely. Rhonda is a school counselor.
Okay.
Out of Texas.
Yeah, it's important because what we have to learn as individuals outside of us, people that do the work, is everyone has their own timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't set a time for someone that's grieving. So you can't tell them, oh, you need to move on. You're not allowed to tell someone that. It is up to them, because you have to remember the same degree that you loved is the degree that you grieve.
Yes.
And so you didn't just love like just the surface of the person. You love that person deeply. And so that means that you're going to grieve deeply.
Yeah.
And so to tell someone, oh, you just have to move on, or you just have to do this, you can't do that. And so if you're not able to handle that grief, then you may have to step aside, because it's understandable. Maybe you can't handle that, and maybe you can't walk through that process with them.
Yeah.
But don't tell them get over it because you want them to move on. You don't have that right to do that.
Exactly. It's very personal.
Yes.
The whole process is very personal. And the thing about it too is we're saying it's personal, but then at the same time, these people who lose a loved one to a murder, a drunk driver, or suicide, then now that doesn't get to stay personal, because it's all over the news, it's all over the front pages and the splashes and all of that. And people look at you and they gawk when you say, yeah, they were murdered, and they draw judgments, and it's a shame, but this is real. This is the real. This is what happens. And so, it as it is personal, when it's so complicated, when there are all these other layers to it, it doesn't get to remain personal sometime. And that's
it is, especially if it's a high profile case.
We have
they're going to play that over and over and over. The news is going to play. They're going to play pulling the body out the car or whatever it is, over and over, and not realizing that you are traumatizing the family over and over. And that's why we tell families that watch as less news as you can, so that you're not constantly exposing yourself to that. And people say, oh, well, we want to have a vigil for him. Oh, we want to do that. And it sounds good. But sometimes those special things that you try to do are very painful for the families.
Yes, absolutely. When we're talking about complicated grief, there seems to be always some other way, that something else in our new world that we are living in, this constantly evolving world, that creates some other situation that becomes complicated grief. And we can say for sure that COVID did that for us in 2020.
Absolutely.
And forward.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because we never had this in any of our lifetimes. We've never had anything like this, and never even been able to fathom such a thing. And then the all of the nuances that went with the grieving or that go with, because I'm still in it, the grieving process. But just looking at the fact that my husband passed away on February 2nd, we were told he was doing great, his lungs looked great, and 2 days later they intubated him,
Mhm.
and then he passed away, and it took 3 months before we could even have a service, before they could do anything with his body. And so just the idea of all of that time that went by, that's part of the grieving process.
Yeah, you can't even start
You
the
can't start.
process of grieving that
Yes.
way because there's still something else to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And some people couldn't go in, they couldn't have loved ones couldn't come in and actually have a service in certain situations.
Yeah.
And so that was really sad because we actually started seeing families that have lost someone to COVID as well because we saw how the overwhelming need,
Yes.
you
And
know.
that's it. Yeah. And again, it falls right into that category where this is not just someone grew old and passed away and they went to be with God. And not to at all downplay those kinds of situations, because they're difficult as well. Somebody was there and now they're not. Somebody was in your heart, was your heart, and now they have left you in the physical realm. And so all of that is complicated, but it's even more so when there are these layers.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
think that, with also with COVID, it was unknown. There was this long process of, you couldn't go to the hospital to see
Right.
people. Like I went through that process with two of these ladies here on here tonight, my sorors. These two ladies were on Zoom. One of them, who was living here in California, was right there with me. I had 9 women in the front yard going through this moment, these moments that were precious and tragic all at once.
Mhm.
When William had to be intubated and then subsequently died, but later in the afternoon, and there were just it was, you get to see who people really are. These ladies were on a Zoom call on a computer with us, you know what I mean? And so people show up in these ways that we get to see their humanity. And so sometimes I have to go and take a hold of that and let that be the thing that gets me through this day,
Mhm.
and then moving on to the next day, it's something else. But I also love that at the center, that was part of our training to help people to find those nuanced moments.
Yes.
That those are the things that you can do. I remember when one of my clients was coming up on, in fact, I think it was one of my very first clients when I started to see her. She was coming up on the anniversary of her
Mhm,
son's death, and she had been gone and had
mhm,
come back. And
mhm.
she was coming up on the anniversary of his death. And that was a whole another thing. And
Yes.
and how to go back through that. The flashbacks were happening, all of those things started coming back again. And
Mhm,
so how do I walk through this?
mhm.
And as a therapist, you say, hold my hand, I got you, we're gonna do this. So I think it's a whole different kind of relationship that you get to have with this kind of a
Yeah,
client.
it is. It is. It's different. We're more hands-on
Yeah.
than you could be in a regular setting, and that's the way I designed it. That's the way I want it.
Yes.
They don't need something that's very cold
Mhm.
and uncaring, and so that's really important. And I'm big on the first anniversary or whatever's coming up. I'm
Yeah.
real big on working with them with that. How can we celebrate that person?
Yeah.
Um, because it's trying to shift that now and help them to still be able to celebrate and love that person, but also we give them the space to talk about those people. So I can't tell you how many people I know that I'll never meet, but
Yes. Absolutely.
certain aspects. I'll say, yep, that's Melvin, or that's this, or that's that, because you've heard the stories and we
Yeah.
allow them to talk about it. Where sometimes with family members or friends, they're afraid to talk about it because they don't or the friends are afraid to say, hey, how about so and so and so, because they think that'll bring them down, when it actually, that will lift them up. Let them talk about
Absolutely.
their loved one.
Absolutely.
Tell stories with them, so they
Yes.
can laugh. That's what they need to. Sorry, that's what they need to do.
Yes.
And so we push, hey, tell that story. So in group, sometimes group is full of tears.
Yeah.
And then sometimes group is laughing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so they can find those moments. We do art projects, and I think we had one of the sisters, when you're talking about the lady, we had one that actually made a quilt, and that's why one size.
Yes.
So what she did, we started a quilting project, and we had someone to come in and help the ladies do quilts. And so she took cards that her loved one used to make for her, and so we scanned them on silk, and she made a quilt out of that. But to see her from the beginning of that, starting that project, and then by the time she finished that project, oh my God, just to see the healing that took place. And so that was her way, and then we have some that have become writers and painters, and all kind of things. So in your grief and in your pain, sometimes you can birth the most wonderful things, not knowing that you even had those gifts within you. So
yes, that's so true.
It's not,
I was thinking of that project.
Yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful project. Yeah. And I think let's see, she did one with the cards, and another one took pieces of the clothing and cut pieces of the clothing and made a quilt out of that. And so that person was able to wrap that around them, and it gave them a sense of purpose and caring, So
yes. Now, another one comes to mind. Well, first, let's see what Terry said. Terry said, that is key. I love what you said. Let's celebrate the person. For some reason, we feel we need to be gloom and doom. Having fun is okay. Yes, absolutely, Terry, for sure. I think that for me, I love talking about William and telling stories, and I love hearing stories about him. Like, his celebration of life was truly that. It was truly a celebration. I got to hear from so many people that told stories that I hadn't heard, about him. And it just confirmed, who he was. And I mean, you knew him, you got to meet him, and just everybody at the center fell in love with him. And we still have, in fact, I still have that big cabinet that you gave to him, that big file. He was so tickled by
that. I remember when he came, when he came.
Filled that thing up in no time flat. I was like, where does all this stuff come from?
Yeah. You got to be able to talk about them. And I think, coming into the holidays, that's one thing is to, as you gather with your family, talk about your loved one. I decided this year that I would, for Christmas, I would fix one of my grandmother's favorite dishes. That when we were a kid, we'd always wanted her to fix that dish when she came to visit. So I have 2 recipes, one from each one of my grandmothers. And I said, okay, so you can do one for Christmas, one for New Year's. And you bring them back into the room.
Yes,
absolutely. My brother, I can look at his kids and his grandkids, and I can see them in him, and in them. I'm sorry, and appreciate them. So it goes on. It's just finding that spot and just being in an environment that gives you permission to go through all the stages that you need to go through. But then the environment will also help you learn how to celebrate them. And you will celebrate them. People come in and go, how long is this going to last? How long am I going to be like this? And my favorite line is, I can't tell you how long it will take, but what I can promise you is it does get better.
Yes, absolutely.
I can promise you that. So that's the important thing, is knowing that it does get better.
Yeah. I love the idea for the holidays, to make a dish that someone of a loved one that maybe was they're either the one that they love to cook or the one that was their
A
favorite.
feast.
Yeah, they love to eat. That would be, yeah, me. Because anything, whenever I go, they won't be able to pick one of my dishes that I cooked all the
No, Sean. You might be able to wear some jewelry and pick it, but
time.
not
There you go. Put on my jewelry and wear it well.
true. That's true.
That would be it. Now, so what are some other things that you can share to help people who are grieving any type of grief during this holiday season? Because it is hard.
It's hard. And just be patient with yourself. One thing about grief,
That's a good one.
we have to learn to be patient with ourselves. I should be further. You will push yourself trying to, push yourself someplace else. So learning to be patient with yourself, but also during this season, know that it's okay if you don't want to do anything. That's okay. So I just want to stay in my pajamas. I'm not depressed. I'm okay.
Yes.
I'm just not there this year.
Yeah.
And that's okay for you to do. Or you can say, hey, you know what? Maybe I do want to have people come over.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I like to advise people to do is to buy a really nice journal.
Yeah.
And if people are coming to your house, ask them if they would write a funny story in that journal about your loved one. And you keep that. And so on the days that maybe it's not a good day for you, you got that journal and you can go and read and you can laugh at some of the stories,
Oh, I love that.
And so I'm always, that I'm always coming up with my different little
Yes.
stories. But you pull out that journal and you're like, oh my God, I remember when he went to work with 2 different shoes, well, that's going to kind of bounce you out of that a little bit. And
Did you know William?
and you'll start laughing about that. Well, that's going to take you out of that moment.
Yes,
absolutely. And so those things are, you may want to set a plate in a special place for that person. You may want to wear a special dress that they used to like, or a special suit that they used to like. And so my biggest point to everyone is it's okay to miss them, and it's okay to celebrate them and to remember them.
Yeah.
That is okay. You don't have to act like they never existed.
Yeah.
I mean, God knows that we stand on the shoulders of ancestors. And if we forgot all the people that we stand on the shoulders of just because they're not here anymore, so let's take what we've gotten from them and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to hold that here, and I'm going to hold that dearly. That's important. That's really, really important.
I love that. You're so good at that. That is so true. I love the idea. I still do wear William's PJs.
Yes.
And his robe was big and warm. It wraps me up. It feels great. It feels
absolutely
really great.
And that is perfectly okay. You don't have to act like, when people are trying to get you to act like they didn't exist, know that it's not you.
Yeah.
It's that person
that's doing
can't handle your grief. And if that's the case, let them stay over there, and you deal with where you're getting support, because it's really important that you are able to get support.
I love it. T-Man said, my mom's favorite dish is sweet potato pie. I didn't have the recipe, but I do remember how it tastes. I got it.
Yeah. Well, you keep working on it, Terry. Get those taste buds.
That's right. You know how to make it do what it
I remember when my dad passed, and my dad was very good at he could make the best yams in the world. And so with my dad, it was a little different. I got a chance to sit with him. He had cancer. And so, I was sitting there one Sunday, I said, oh, wait a minute. Hey, Dad, how do you make those yams?
Okay.
And I sat there and wrote it down.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I live with my cousin who was inside when they were teaching the girls to cook. I would always make a face. And my grandmother said, take that old face outside. And I would hurry up and take that face outside and play. And so I never learned the recipes. But thank God for Marquita Lynn, because she was paying close attention and she's got them down.
That's good. Terry,
Terry said, I used the journal after my mom and dad passed. I bought cards for my birthday. It's just shared how I was feeling. Absolutely.
The good thing, Terry, about the journal, you got the pie and have it mailed. The good thing about the journal is that when you're going through the healing process, especially at the very beginning, what the journal will do for you, and I try to get people to do it, but sometimes it's too painful for them. What the journal does for you is when you go 6 months down the line and you flip back to those pages in the beginning where you think you're not making progress, you will realize that you are making progress because your pain is in your writing.
That's so
and
good.
If you're able to write and then go back, you'll go, okay, it kind of validates and it kind of helps you. Okay, I am moving. I may not feel like it, but when I look at this, I remember at that moment just how I felt. And so now I'm able to, okay, let me keep going. Let me keep writing, you know, and you'll see that works wonders for you.
Yeah. You know, that's so true. I can think about, I wrote this poem the night after William passed. And my girls had gotten a nurse for me because I was day 16 of COVID. I was still hacking and they didn't want me to be alone, but they couldn't come in, right? In the house. So they got a nurse and she stayed with me. She stayed with me for 7 days then, and then she went away for a few days, and then they knew that Valentine's Day was the following weekend, and they were like, she needs somebody there because Valentine's Day was a big deal for William, for me. He would get me like lots of goodies. And they got her to come back. And it turns out that she actually had lost her husband 3 years prior.
Okay.
So that was just totally God. But that night after, I wrote this poem and it was heavy and deep and intense and all of those things. And now when I write something about him, it's a whole different thing. So you're absolutely dead on that. I love it. Terry seems to get that too. Yeah, the journaling is nothing to sleep on. People is
no,
really,
not at all.
Yeah,
absolutely. Your writing, you know, sometimes I get things in the middle of the night, and I used to say, oh, I remember that in the morning because I don't want to get up. And lo and behold, in the morning, of course,
it is so gone.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes that's how God works with me, because I guess he said, well, you're laying down, I have your full attention now.
Yes, totally.
I'll give you whatever it is. So I've learned to keep something by the bed, and if not, I grab my phone and I go into notes and I just writing,
totally.
writing whatever it is. So
or a voice memo too.
Absolutely, writing and your memos, your voice memos are very, very helpful. Very helpful.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Farrell, we're winding down. We're at the hour, so I would love if you. There's a couple things I didn't get the email that you said you sent some things for me. I didn't get it, but I do want to share the website because there's some photos on the website.
Absolutely.
That are great. And then I also thought of something. I remember that you are mentioned, and the center is mentioned in the I don't know, is it a memoir, in the book of Anita Hill? Is that correct?
Yeah, I was mentioned in the work. The work that I do was mentioned in Anita Hill's book, which was an honor. I've actually had the honor of being mentioned, my work, in 3 books. So, and all of those writers go, when are you going to write your book?
Yeah, how about that, huh?
You're right. So I've had the honor over the years. I don't do a lot of public stuff because what I do it from the heart. And so I do very few interviews. I do very few of any of that because it's my passion. It's my purpose, and I'm just glad to be able to do it. Out of all the things God could have chose for me to do, this just really, blesses my soul. And so, like I
Mhm.
said, just to see people put their lives back together, to see some of the families from 911 to see, I mean, I'm looking at kids that are going to college now. And
Wow.
some of those people that still, hi Farrell, happy birthday, Farrell.
Oh,
Know
nice.
that they're okay, but still stay connected.
Mm,
Those are the special moments for me. The work I did with the police department and still having a lot of those people in my life,
mhm.
those are special, to me. So I kind of have this extended family, you could say, and
Yeah.
along with the therapists that come through the center, they become friendships and family. So
Yeah.
not all of them,
Yeah.
but but a lot of them become family because they actually have a heart. And so my
Mm,
thing is, as I tell you guys, ride the retirement train. My heart is full because I know that I've trained enough people and have enough people to come through the agency that I'm
mhm,
comfortable with people. There are sources out there, whereas when we first started, there
mhm.
weren't specialized services for this particular population, and so
Right.
that's really, really important to me.
I love it. I love it. I'm looking for something that I also am reminded, and let's see if I have, I'm sure that I have at least one in here. Oh, aha.
What
Yes,
you
indeed. Ah, you're gonna laugh. So, as I mentioned, you all, Farrell is also among all the other wonderful things that she does. She is a photographer. And I remember, was it for my, let me see. It wasn't,
you
it
were
wasn't
getting
my
ready to
birthday.
do
I
something.
was doing something. What was it? I don't remember. Oh, was that the pageant? The
It
Mrs.
could have been. It could have been.
Yeah, so I think that was it. Well, Farrell did a, no, you know what it was? You did that for my birthday.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was.
Okay.
You did it for my birthday. Farrell gave me a glamour photo shoot for my birthday. And so I have to show one of the photos. Let's see. How you like me now?
You funny.
That was one of the shots. I had no idea what she was doing because that is tulle. And
Oh yeah.
was that like a peacock plant or something
Yeah.
that he draped all around me and hooked me right on up. And there's another one that I think is that one. I use this
Yeah,
one.
one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, this one was for one of Black Silk's flyers, the band. And that's another one that she's doing. I had that sweater on a couple days ago.
Oh, that's funny. I sent it to you again, Sean.
Yeah, you did? Okay, good. So
Yeah.
let me take a quick look because I want to share some of those amazing things. Where are you sending it?
Uh,
Ah, there it is. Got it.
uh,
Yes. Ah, yes, I remember this one. Let's see. Uh, okay. Oh, I hope it works. Let me see. Now, and you can tell us what this is from. Let me see. Um, okay. Oh, good. It's working. It's working. Yes, there we go. So that's Farrell right there. And what was this from, Farrell?
that was we were called out on a old crime scene up in Ventura, and it was a family that they never found the body of their loved one.
Mm,
And so they called us out there to be with them to see if they thought they would find it. And they actually built a new freeway in that area since then. And so they were digging and they didn't find it. And so I didn't know that that picture was being taken until they called and asked, "What's your name?" And I said, and they said the Times wanted. I said, "For what?" And so that's what happened. But anyway, what I was doing, I said, we didn't find the body, but I said, would it help you if I take some of the dirt from here and put it in a container for you? I said, with that, and they said yes. And so I found something to put the dirt in and then gave it to them.
Wow. See, and I love, again, you are so good for this work because you have the quick wit or the quick mind to think of things from the heart that will touch the heart. And that is such a gift. And that is why God chose just you to do this work in the way that you do. And I want to say thank you on behalf of all the families, on behalf of myself and all the therapists that have come through Loved Ones, because we are better therapists for having been able to do, I want to look at you, to be able to do this work with you. I feel so honored to have had somebody who recognized the gift that I had, even though I was trampling all over it. And I'm getting emotional, and I didn't expect that at all. But I appreciate how you loved me enough to pull me in the office when you needed to and say, that's not appropriate to wear. You can't everything, but no, we're trying to show girls at work today.
Oh my God, I forgot.
And I honestly, somebody else might have let me just walk around with my little petunias showing off. And I just really appreciate and love you and honor you. And, there have been other things that you've helped me with that had nothing to do with Loved Ones, just life stuff. And I appreciate you so much. And I am a good therapist, and I'm a good therapist because of Loved Ones, because that's to be able to cut your teeth in a place where the people who you help are being helped by such a place that is run the way that you ran Loved Ones and took care of us as much as we got to take care of the clients. And you had the foresight to bring Dr. Mars to the place. And I'm so grateful that he was my clinical director, because
my partner in crime.
Yes. And he also had that Trinidadian swagger. Let's not forget that.
He does.
Yeah. And now I haven't spoken to him in a while, but I did reach out to him when I got licensed, I think. And
he knew. I made sure that he knew. And he's a special person as well for this work. And so we always try to make sure that the team, is gels together really well. Mm-hmm. And so he has a heart for the work as well. And that's where we first met, at doing our work with the police department.
Yeah.
So we gelled right away. We worked on some of the, debriefings together and things like that. And so, getting those midnight calls, and formed a really good friendship, and knowing that we both were interested, in doing this work. And so that's been a really good partnership.
Yeah. And what better place to be trained than by a woman who has done grief work for so many years and trauma work, and then to be trained by a man who was the psychologist who kind of helped the officers after coming from some of these terrible, tragic things that they are faced with as well. And so it was good cutting your teeth ground. And also, Camelia, what you say, girl? Hey there, sis. She says, I'm watching and listening. How about when someone dies and life keeps going and you never get to take time off? Let's see. And you never get to take time.
That's a question.
Let's see. I'm watching and listening about how when someone dies and life keeps going and you never get to take time off. That's a question. Yes, we do. I think is that.
You have to take time off.
Yeah. You missed the top of the show, because at the top she talked about that part.
Yeah, you have to take time off. You have to take that moment for yourself. I don't care what your job, what's your
Yeah.
occupation. We see people that are very popular, in their work, what have you. They could be doctors, lawyers, preachers, whatever.
Yeah.
You have to take that time for yourself, because it's going to come out some way or another.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, it could be
Yeah.
anger. It could be
Look,
so many. Yes.
the grief
So
don't know you're a doctor. The grief don't know you're a therapist.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's not operating on your,
Yeah.
on your position. And so you
Resume.
have to allow yourself time that, hey, I need this time
Yeah.
to take care of myself. And it is okay to say, hey, I need this time to take care of myself.
Uh-huh.
Because
saying that's what happened with my mom, had to keep going for destiny. Okay, but now listen, Missy, I'm gonna tell you something. What and I get what you're saying, but I also want to say to the audience out there, when we do that, you don't have to keep going. I mean, you definitely can't fold, but just making sure, and not necessarily for you, Camille, but for Camille, but some of the other people that might be out there that might get this the wrong way, because your children need to see that you take that time for yourself. Your children need to see that you grieve in a way that honors yourself as well as you honor the loved one who passed away, and you teach them how to do that. So I think that is something. I don't want anybody to get that wrong in what you mean by that. So I just want to say that part, because when we think that we are holding it all together and showing this stoic front, that's not the great picture that you want to present.
Yeah. Kids know when you're hurting.
Yeah.
They know when you're hurting. And so it's okay to help them understand what grief is.
Yeah.
And it's okay to let them know, what, yes, mommy hurts right now.
Yeah.
You may see mommy cry, but mommy's okay. Mommy's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you just explain to them, but you don't want to teach them to suppress their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important that we explain that. And even, let me say this quickly, even with, if you have a spouse in the house, and we get this all the time. And, sometimes the husband or wife, whoever, will come in and say, well, I'm not getting this or I'm not getting that. And I'm like, well, have you ever asked for any of that?
Boom, boom.
So if that person's grieving, you're grieving, they don't know that, hey, sweetheart, I'm not asking you to fix it, but I just need you to hold me. Can you just hold me? You don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything. Can you just hold me right now? Yeah. Or, honey, can I just have, Saturday mornings just to go sit on the beach for a minute? I just need to have that space. Mm-hmm. But unless you tell a person what you need, they don't know, because sometimes they've never even seen you in that situation.
Yes.
So they have no idea how to help you. So we have to be able to tell people what we need.
Yes, indeed. And Camelia, you did something very well and very right, because Miss Beautiful Destiny certainly is a testament to whatever it is that you figured out how to do during that time, little Miss UC Davis.
Yes, absolutely. Congratulations.
Yeah. My mom was a tough, strong woman who would say, put your big girl panties on and keep it moving. And, that is real. That is very much, and particularly in our African-American culture and community, that's what we have been taught to do. And so I'm just grateful for conversations like this, where we get to talk about, like, yeah, you don't want to lay down and die, but you do want to lay down.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to give yourself permission.
Mm-hmm.
You can still be tough.
Right.
We're tough, but at the same time, you have to be able, this isn't a tough moment.
Yeah. You get to be tender.
You get to be tender, you know? And so get in touch with, they might like it. Get in touch with that tender side.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. And nurture that for a while. You've been tough all this time. So, get in touch with the tender part for a little while.
Yes, indeed. Well, Farrell, I do want to say this one thing too, to all of you out there and beyond, and anybody who may watch this later. I just want to acknowledge the tragic loss that we had today. with Twitch. I came downstairs in the morning and my cousin said, girl, Twitch. And I'm like, what? I thought she was saying she was twitching. I didn't know. And so she said Twitch. And I'm like, Twitch? She goes, he committed suicide. And I was like, no. Heartbroken. Heart goes out to his entire family, to everyone who knew him, to all of us who felt like we knew him because of the big, beautiful personality that he allowed us the gift of getting to know on television for all these years. And I just want to say out there to anybody who's hurting, it's holiday time. The rates of suicide go up during this time always. And to hear this news today was just heartbreaking to me as a person, as a woman, as a Black woman, to have a Black man be hurting so badly that he thought that this was the way to end it all. And I just want to say to our brothers out there, it is okay for you to be vulnerable. It is okay for you to ask for help. We are here for you. There are therapists, there are hotlines, and we need to use them. And if you have any inclination that somebody is hurting, don't assume that you are wrong. It is better to err on the side of caution and to be wrong. But to be silent is not the answer. It's not an option.
No, it's not the answer. And also, let me add to that.
Please.
Death by suicide is what we call it, because they didn't commit. Death by suicide. Know that a person has to fall into a really deep place to even do something like that. Someone called me with the same thing this morning and said, that was so selfish. I was the wrong person to call.
Oh, yes, indeed.
And so I said, no, that's not what it is. I said, we have to understand, and I always use this analogy when I'm out doing trainings. You know, if you give a kid a backpack and we put so many books in it, I'm so Sean heard me tell this story, but you put books in it and, you know, your poor kid is like this, you know, and you keep trying to add more books to it. And the kid is like this. And so all of us are born with a backpack. And, you know, sometimes the backpack gets too heavy. And most of the time when something like that happened, that person is not in the frame of mind where they're thinking about family, themselves. They're just thinking about the pain that they're in. And they just want that pain to stop for whatever reason. So the greatest thing we can do is pay attention to one another. Yeah. Take those breaks when we need breaks, and love on people. And, you know, most of all, let's stop judging. Let's just try to understand one another. And my heart goes out to his family. Let's just keep them in our prayers, because I've seen so much stuff today. Commentators comment on what they thought and all of that. And this isn't the time, you know, let's just keep this young man's family in our prayers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For sure, Farrell. Thank you for that. Camellia says, I was blessed to have a village to help me get through it. Thank you to all those who were there and are still there for us. Absolutely.
Yes, we will be there. I'm going to be doing some things in January. I'll let Sean know, with women, because there's some areas of grief and different things. Just want to take it to another level and do some. And so looking forward to the new year. But Sean, thank you so much for having me on your program. It was indeed a pleasure. I am so proud of the work that you're doing, and look forward to seeing what God is going to do for you next.
Yes, indeed. And thank you for agreeing to be on here. And we'll have to, Camellia is on my board with us for the Black Women's Network. We're on the board together. And I am so honored to have you here tonight, Miss Lady. And we'll have to have Farrell come and talk to our ladies too, right? Right, Camellia?
Anytime.
So we would love to do that. And so, ladies, who are out there, and any gents that watch this later or who are being quiet back there, not saying anything, we appreciate you for being on too. And Farrell, just let us know where you can be found.
You can, our website for Loves is lovs.org. So you can go to the website and you can get information there. If you want to contact me personally, you can contact me at onecoachfarrell@gmail.com.
All right, wait, there we go. Let me get that one up there. So this is the loves.org.
Yeah,
That's
that's Love.
services. Yes. And then say it again, One Coach Farrell.
coachfarrell@gmail.com. And then we also have a Facebook page. Well, when you go to the website, you can link to Love's Facebook page as well.
Okay. All right. And so that's One Coach Farrell. That's 2 R's, 2 L's.
Yes, Missy.
I
think it's the number 1.
Oh, the number 1. Okay, let's do that again. One Coach. Oops. Yeah. FERROLL at gmail.com. And Farrell, are you a grief coach? Is that your specialty in coaching?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So if you find yourself in some places in grief that you can't, you need some help navigating, it is okay to go to a coach, especially one as knowledgeable about this topic as Farrell. Therapy is different from coaching.
Absolutely.
But it's also an effective, coaching is also an effective means, especially, again, I can't reiterate, if it's someone like Farrell who has the expertise that she has in this area and so much experience in doing this. So a therapist can take you this far, and then perhaps to incorporate all that you've learned in therapy into your life. Once you've learned it, you need a coach.
Yeah, and that's what it's about, really, Sean. It's about how to find purpose out of the grief. That's my.
Yeah, I love that.
Helping people with entrepreneurship and things like that. Knowing, please, whatever help you get, please make sure that person specializes in whatever your situation is, because there's so much popping up now. And you want to make sure that you're getting care, because if not, you can do more harm than good. So
absolutely
make sure, ask questions and find out what that person's background is, to make sure that is suitable for you. Because especially when it comes to specialized situations like this, I know when to send a person to therapy when it's beyond coaching.
Right.
And so you have people that are doing coaching and therapy, and you have to be very careful. They're not the same.
Right. That's right. And even as a therapist, I got certified as a coach.
Absolutely.
So I could be able to distinguish between the two.
Yes.
So thank you, Sora Terry. She says, great conversation. She enjoyed the topic. This came in about my photograph. So thank you, darling. And thank you, darling. And she says, thank you both. Camelia says, great job, ladies.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks. My staff is out there somewhere, so thank you so much.
Hi, staff. How y'all doing? I'm going to come by and see y'all. I haven't
Please do. Give us a call, because, we're doing a lot of stuff virtually, too. Okay. But give us a call, Sean. I'd love to get together with you.
Absolutely. All right. So thank you, Boss Talkers, for tuning in once again for yet another great conversation. We thank you so much. We love you, and we cannot wait. Remember, every Wednesday, 6:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The rest of y'all do the math. And we will see you again next week. So y'all know, shalom, y'all, and live loved. Good night.
Good night.